السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. One of the great miracles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed this ummah is the Quran. You look at all the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 124 plus, and it's 24,000 or more. All came with every messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. He gave some miracles, so because people are tired, they want tangible, they want to see to believe. But that mu'jiza happened, we saw it. He didn't see it, he didn't see it. It's almost like a match. When you get a match, light a match, it lasts for that period of time and then it dies. But the only mu'jiza, the only miracle that stands until the day of Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted from earth, is the Quran. وَلِذَلِكَ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not promise to preserve any other books. He only promised to preserve the Quran. Like as Zabur, we don't really know much about it. And the Injil, and the Torah, there's obviously muharrafat, inaccurate. Some are true, some are not true, some are made up. But not the Quran. The Quran, mu'jizatullah khalida. It is the miracle of all miracles. And as the world advanced into these advancements, it only confirms what the Quran said. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Rahman about going through heaven. إِنِ اسْتَطَعْتُمْ أَن تَنْفُذُوا مِنْ أَقْطَارِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ فَانْفُذُوا. If you can pass through these different levels of the atmospheric levels and go to these within the galaxy here, go. But you can only go with knowledge. لَا تَنْفُذُونَ إِلَّا بِسُلْطَانٍ. Only knowledge can take you there, and that knowledge is not exceptional. There is no mentioning that this knowledge only for the believers, for the Muslims. Knowledge for anyone. Anyone who have that knowledge, they certainly can take it. So today's topic is really based on a book called Mabahith fi Ulum Quran. These are research topics about the Quran science. We must have most of us actually understand a lot of this sequence and the historical background, but it is essential that we have an understanding of how this ilm reached us. Like in today, really there's still a lot of people are making efforts, but we can also make efforts within our own communities and our own self and family, so that knowledge does not disappear. Because knowledge will disappear. There will be a time when people come to the masjids, they're all PhD holders, they're all doctors, but nobody knows how to read Al-Fatiha. That time will come. So they leave. They come and they leave. This is one of the signs of the day of judgment, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove and lift the knowledge from the heart of men. First by qabd al-ulama, the scholar will die, and then after that, the knowledge will be lifted. So it's not that it will be taken from the book, even though some says that it will not be actually from open book keeping. There's nothing. But we have it. So we have it. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala read the Quran, the Arabs at the time, they were not requiring tafseer. People, the Sahaba and the companion and the Arabs, basically, their natural way, they understood the message. They know what the Quran wants them to do. With some exception, they had actually would ask the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what does that mean? But in most cases, that's why there's not like a whole tafsir for the Quran. by any Sahabi or by any of their students as well. There was not an entire tafsir. There was basically a tafsir about basically al-gharib, the strange in it, the one that look alike, these kind of things that they would ask questions about. For example, Sahaba, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ, those who believe and they do not join injustice with their iman. So they felt, Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, who among us does not cause any injustice to himself? Nabi said, but that is not the case. What you understand dhulm here actually referred to as shirk. Because in another ayah, this is called Tafseer al-Quran bil Quran. This is actually the Quran explained itself. But in another ayah, Luqman alayhi salam, he will say to his son, Ya bunayya, la tushrik billah, inna shirka la dhulmun azim. My son, do not commit shirk. This is a great sin, it's a great injustice to yourself. So this would be the type of question that the Sahaba would ask. So for a long time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would order Sahaba to write just the Quran. Only he would say, put this ayah in this location, in this surah, and so forth. But they would not write. He said, حدثوا عني ولا حرج. فمن كذب علي متعمدا فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. Talk about me, no problem. But whoever lies about me, he will enter into Jahannam. So we cannot talk just like that, any talk and assume that this is, we have to look for accuracy. And this is when now Islam is spread. So among the Sahaba, before we go this that far, they were basically, just know these names. Abdullah ibn Abbas. Now, first of all, the great Khulafa al-Rashidin. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, wa Sayyidina Uthman, wa Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. Those were the Sahaba, those were basically the closest to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they understood the meaning of the ayat of the Quran. And then from among the young generations with basically Abdullah ibn Abbas, this is the cousin of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wa Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, this is basically another, subhanAllah, humble man, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us so much knowledge that he was among the people that understood the Quran and know what it means. Now, and then also the Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay ibn Ka'b. Those were the three. There's others as well. Obviously, many of those scholars. But if you look at those three schools, those three Sahabis, one was in Iraq, that was Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And one was in Medina, that was Ubay ibn Ka'b. And one was in Mecca, that was Abdullah ibn Abbas. Now, those three Sahabis had students, what you hear like Mujahid said, Qatada said, and so forth, so and so said, they were actually students of those Sahabis. Again, there are others as well, but we just to conclude, that we kind of get an idea of where we're going here. So now they again, until that point, the Quran was not fully developed into a science. Why? Because mainly it was within the Arabs. There was not very many people coming in from outside of the Caribbean accepting Islam at the time. Now, once Islam spread, once Islam took lead into the area after Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, and then came Sayyidina Uthman and Sayyidina Ali, they decided that now it's time to gather all the Quran in one Mus'haf. And they call them the Mus'haf al-Uthman. Like this, what you see, the writing here, this is a Rasm al-Uthmani. It means this basically the way and the shape it was written according to, and then it was basically, they said this is during the time of Uthman, so that's what they call al-Mus'haf al-Uthmani, and they made several copies, and they sent it to different areas like to Egypt, to Iraq, to Yemen, and so forth, and different part of the world, so as to not to have too much lahm. Because non-Arab had come into Islam. Now they're not Arabs and they have not learned the language very well. So a lot of time, maybe their tongue, they just need to understand. This is when Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said, ordered one grammarian. His name was Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali. He asked him to write the Quran. That's why you see those tashkils, and you see the grammars and so forth. This will be the how the Quran, how to read the Quran, like the Dhamma, the Kasra, and so forth. And he put the rules, and of course, that actually helped everybody, including the Arabs as well, because also the Arabs have been invaded and things have changed. And if you look at the say in the East, the language is a little bit different. If you look in the West, it's the same thing. So now the people of the past understood there must be a way to preserve the purity of the language. And only if you understand the language, you will understand the Quran. Now you can read it, you can memorize it. That's one of the miracles of the Quran. But understanding the language is a key. That means you're able to speak it, and you're actually able to actually do what we call al-i'rab al-lugha, and you understand what does each word mean. Here we say, what does that word refer to? You know, is it a noun? Is it all the grammar structure of the language? Then in the past, they would have put the Quran into one section of the Hadith. It was not by itself. It was not separate, because they have developed the science of Hadith very well. So when in the books of Hadith, at the end of the book, they would put like basically these are the section concerning of Tafseer of the Quran. And then they realized that the scholars advanced into this. They separated that, and they put the Quran in a separate section. And then they put several categories under that, under the book of Tafseer. So basically, Asbab al-Nuzul, this would be why the ayat was revealed. Okay, now, for example, the stories of the Quran, why the stories are mentioned. There are benefits in every story that's mentioned. It's not just a story. And then the al-i'rab, then how do you identify words and words meaning from a grammarian standpoint? Not only that, basically al-nasikh wal-mansukh. Why some ayat basically were revealed later on to be not the law, or the law that was derived from the first ayah was changed by another ayah, like ayat al-khamr. In the past, people, during the time of Sahaba, they were drinking alcohol was not forbidden. It was just, but slowly, and because there was some benefit in it for people would sell it, they would make money and so forth. Obviously, anybody said there's health benefit, they're just lying to you. There is just no health benefit in alcohol. I'm not a doctor, but obviously there's some issues with this from a medical standpoint. However, that's not our main topic. So the Quran came when the Sahaba would come to the masjid. They are making salat, but they're also drunk. That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Khalas, finish. There's a time now that all when they were ready, now the alcohol became forbidden. So the first ayah, which didn't say that it's forbidden, mentioned al-khamr, but then in the next ayah, and that was not like within there was a period of time between them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is called the nasikh wal mansukh. This Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed this with the hukum have changed. So here we can see that when we read the ayah, because somebody might come and read the first one and say, but Allah said this is halal. Right, you did not read the other ayah that said, no, it is haram. So basically what we do is we read it for the benefit of reading it, but we do not use it as a law. So this will be the al-nasikh wal-mansukh. Asbab al-nuzul, why ayat was revealed to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it described a situation. So I have wrote, actually, there are several areas, and this book is a great book. I don't know if it's translated into English, but okay, ilm al-tafsir. So the first one would be the knowledge of tafsir, the knowledge of understanding, because you see that the thing is when you identify what is the Quran. When you think about it, what is the Quran? I ask any of you, brother, what is the Quran? how do you identify the Quran? What is it? That is actually one part. What else?
So it is the speech of Allah Ta'ala.
Yeah, the word of Allah. This is good. What else? هو كلام الله. That's the first part. أنزله على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, revealed to the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, ليتعبد به. So you worship Allah accordingly. That is the meaning. Now, what is al-ilm bil-Quran means? Al-ilm, we know what al-ilm is. What is al-ilm is knowledge. What is the opposite of knowledge? اللي هو ignorant, right? So you can identify words by also knowing the opposite meaning of it. So here we are actually required to have knowledge of the Quran, to have knowledge of our ibadah, because Allah ordered us to do so in the Quran. Allah said, "Fa'lam first, al-ilm first, knowledge is first. أنه لا إله إلا الله." Yeah, فa'lam means seek knowledge, to understand. When you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you do your ibadah, when you do all the dealing and treating, all this requires knowledge. So seek that knowledge. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an accurate knowledge. العلم يأتي قبل العمل. ذلك الصحابة رضوان الله عليهم said that we used to take 10 ayat. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would teach us 10 ayat of the Quran. And then we would understand the meaning of those ayat. And he said, we take the ahkam, whatever ruling in that, whatever we're required to do, we practice those 10 ayat. Once we practice those 10 ayat and we memorize them, so qawlan wa amalan, verbally, with the deep understanding, and not only that, and action. So it is not sufficient that, well, alhamdulillah, it's great to memorize the Quran. This is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is required, and this is, this is truly fard wajib that we all should memorize, we should have among us people who memorize the Quran. But what is greater is actually to understand the Quran. And once you understand, you would practice the Quran. And this is how Sahaba would do. So it wasn't just let's memorize. That's why he said, when you have reached, I think it was Abdullah ibn Mas'ud who said that, when one of us would reach Al-Baqarah, and Al Imran, his status would be elevated among the Sahaba. Not because he memorized it, but because he also memorized it and he basically practiced it. He was basically, that's what Nabi Sallallahu was, they followed the Messenger Sallallahu whatever he does, wherever he goes. And that's why Aisha said, when she asked about the character of the Messenger Sallallahu, she said, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. So Quran is his character. Wherever he goes, wherever he does, wherever he deals with people, if he's in his house, everything like that. So when Sahaba followed the same footsteps. So we have ilm al-tafseer, ilm al-Quran, some of the strange description in the Quran. Also ilm asbab al-nuzul, the knowledge of why the ayat is revealed. Ilm al-nasikh wal-mansukh, and we've said that when the ayat has been changed at a different location within the Quran. Ilm al-qasas al-Quran, and also the stories of the Quran. Like for example, if you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, we all know why it was named. This scholar actually have gone to say Asma al-Surah, why were named as such. It wasn't just named randomly. All these things, nobody have done anything on their own here. But the tafsir have always been taken by a naql. We remember we were talking about that. Basically, somebody tells them. That's why memorizing the Quran, it's not always recommended that you memorize the Quran by yourself. You have to have a teacher. That's why when we have the halaqah in the morning, people who may have issues like maybe they don't know how to read, subhanAllah, this is the book of Allah. It's not my book. It's not anybody sitting's book. This is the book of Allah. And we all sit here to learn. So if I have difficulty, like in the hadith that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Al-Mahir bil-Quran ma'a-safara, ma'a-safarat al-barara, or kiram safara, كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The one who is able to read the Quran In perfect form, he's with those higher level, inshallah, in Jannah. However, the one who read the Quran, he has difficulty, basically will have two rewards. Reward of time and reward of basically that ta'at, that he's, he might say, and he put nasb, he was, and then somebody would correct him. This is not a personal issue. This is for us to learn. So, so these are all. So a person who actually, what they put the foundation of tafsir. So if you want to do tafsir, and anybody who does tafsir, now I'm not saying that I'm knowledgeable of of these things. However, you can prepare. And preparation basically is you would look at the ayah, you would look at, okay, why it was revealed, okay, what occasions, okay, what is strange about this, what is been said from the hadith, and what does the other part of the Quran say about it. So you are actually getting the entire meaning of the ayah. For example, the Surah Al-Fatiha was well known that this surah has several names. And this is one of the great surah, As-Sab'a al-Madani. This is the 7 repeated verses of the Quran. And a group of Sahaba, they were traveling, and they came to people, they asked them to give them some food and to actually have them as hosts, as guests. They said, no, we're going to do that for you. And then the leader of that tribe, I think a snake bit him, or one of those animals in the desert bit him. So he had poison. So they wanted to take care of him. They couldn't find any cure for him. They came to the Sahaba and they said to them, what would you do? Do you have any medicine? One Sahaba said, yes, I do, but under one condition. You will give us some. He said, no problem. We'll give you what you need. So he came and he read Al-Fatiha on this man, and he was cured. They gave him a lot of sheep. They went to Medina, now they were ready to split. They said, we're going to tell the Messenger ﷺ first about what happened. They went to the Messenger ﷺ, and he said to them, how do you know that the Fatiha is Shafiyah? How do you know that the Fatiha is actually can bring cure? He said, because what? But he said that, he said, I read, that what he, in Quran, فيه شفاء للناس. يعني Quran, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ. And we reveal from the Quran that there is actually a cure in it for ailment. So, and Nabi Sallallahu said, what he did is correct, what he did is right. And this is one of the name of Al-Fatiha, Fatihatul Kitab. So, Nabi Sallallahu said, distribute and also put a share for me with you. So knowing these, knowing the reason and when that happened and what the uses in different locations and so forth. Therefore, the Mufassir should have knowledge of all these different branches of knowledge of tafsir in order to do better as a Mufassir. Now, and finally, I will conclude inshallah with this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lam yatruk al-insan ila fitrati. Allah did not leave human to just live his life based on his the fitra is basically the way we're born, the natural way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, because a human being will always depart from the truth. If left alone for a long time, that's what they'll do. They'll forget, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mubashirina mundirin. They give good news and they warn people about that. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, my example and all the prophets before me, like someone who built a palace. And in that palace, it's a beautiful palace. And in the wall, there is one brick missing. So people said, subhanAllah, if only had that one brick put in that palace would be beautiful. And he said, and that would be, I am that one the last brick that complete all that. So all the messengers of Allah, their message is one. All the kalam of Allah and kalam is one. Their sharia and so forth, why it was revealed to specific people. No one had come, none of the messengers before the message, before our Prophet ﷺ, None of them came to all humanity except the Messenger sallallahu. Allah said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have sent you with a mercy to mankind, and not only to mankind and to jinn as well. Every human being, he did not say the Arabs. He did not, anyone understand the message and accept Islam is into Islam. There's no favoritism here. So that is one of the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only that, Al-Quran, and then so we said it's a miracle, but it's also a cure. Why are we talking about the Quran? Because in Quran there's a cure for a lot of our problems, whether it's social problems, psychological problems, political problems. Al-Quran have identified so many of these for us, and we can only build a nation that actually succeed, just like the one before us had built, based on the Quran, not based on anything else. Success of the beginners will always be success of those at the end. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who understand the Quran and also put some efforts into it. Make an effort to learn and to really get the deep meaning, not only just to memorize and also not to be shown off, because this is a great sin, but rather to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to help us and to help our families. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who understand and practice the correct deen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. جزاكم الله خير.